The morning of my wedding, I got a call from my future sister-in-law. We've sent your makeup artist away, changed the venue, and my brother finally realized you're not good enough. Heart pounding. I tried reaching him, but when I arrived at the ceremony, it was them who ended up speechless. And if you enjoy these stories, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and let's get into this story. The morning of my wedding, I was already awake when the phone rang. I hadn't slept the night before. I had told myself it was normal, bride nerves, too much coffee, too much excitement. But looking back, I think I knew. I think some part of me had already sensed the crack in the wall, even before it split wide open. The call came at 6:03 a.m. My future sister-in-law, Haley. Her voice was bright. Too bright. "Good morning, bride-to-be," she sang. I sat up in bed, blinking. "Haley? Is everything okay?" A pause. Just long enough to raise my pulse. "Oh, everything's fine," she said sweetly. "But I figured it's better you hear it from me than, find out the hard way." My stomach dropped. She continued, casually, like she was talking about brunch plans. "We've had to make a few adjustments to the wedding today. Just some tiny last-minute changes." I gripped the blanket. "What are you talking about?" "Well," she said. "First, we sent your makeup artist home. Told her your services weren't needed anymore. No hard feelings." She seemed very understanding. "What?" I was already throwing off the blanket, feet hitting the floor. "Why would you do that?" "She was booked." "Oh, and we changed the venue," she went on. "Don't worry, it's still beautiful. Just more exclusive. Private. Intimate. Not everyone made the guest list cut, but you understand." "Haley, what the hell are you talking about?" Then her voice dropped. Lower. "I see. My brother finally realized you're not good enough. That you were never going to fit into our family. You're ambitious, sure, but not the right kind of ambitious. And we couldn't let you embarrass him today." I stopped moving. For a second, the world just held its breath. "You're lying," I said. She laughed. "Oh, honey, I wouldn't lie about something like this. Trust me, it's better this way. No messy vows, no awkward divorce down the line. Just walk away, quietly, with what dignity you have left." Then she hung up. I tried to call Nathan. 6 times. No answer. Tried his best friend, his dad, even his aunt, who had helped us plan the seating chart. No one picked up. No one replied. My messages all showed read, but nothing came back. The group chat we made for wedding logistics? Gone. I'd been removed. I checked the venue's Instagram. Nothing. I checked the catering company's stories, still prepping. But a new location? I didn't recognize it. Panic settled in fast, like cold water pouring into my lungs. I stared at the dress hanging from the closet. My dream dress. Hand-altered. Lace-trimmed. Dozens of custom fittings. Paid for by me. My phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, from an unknown number. "Don't make a scene. You'll only make it worse. He's not coming back." I had a choice. I could sit in that hotel room and sob. Call my mom. Hide under the sheets. Let them win. Or I could find out the truth. So I got dressed. Not into the wedding dress. I wasn't going to waste it on them. Just a black sweater. Jeans. My boots. I tied my hair back. Washed my face. Threw on lipstick. No foundation. No contour. Just a woman with nothing to lose and nowhere to be but there. I called a rideshare. Didn't enter the old venue address. I entered the catering location I saw in their Instagram story. A small estate on the edge of the lake. The one Haley had once joked was too expensive to book, but perfect for people like us. And I rode in silence, eyes forward, breath steady. They thought they had humiliated me. They thought this was over. But they didn't know me. Not yet. The car pulled into the estate at 8:14 a.m. There were no banners. No flowers. No welcome signs. But there were cars. And staff. And movement. The ceremony wasn't supposed to start until 11. But these people were early risers. Calculated. Cruel. I walked up the gravel path, past the florists, the servers, the decorators. No one stopped me. No one questioned me. They just assumed I belonged. Which, for the first time today, was true. The back entrance led to the service kitchen. I slipped in. Waited. Watched. And then I saw him. Nathan. In a tux. Hair combed. Tie half done. Looking nervous. Pale. Haley was next to him. Whispering something. Her hand on his shoulder. I stayed behind the door. Hidden. But close. I couldn't hear everything. But I caught enough. Doing the right thing. She was never going to be one of us. Don't feel guilty. This is your family. And Nathan just stood there. Didn't speak. Didn't look like the man who had spent the last 2 years building a life with me. Didn't look like the man who had told me just last night, "No matter what happens tomorrow, I've got you." He looked lost. Not in love. Not in pain. Just blank. That was when I made my decision. I turned and walked back out the way I came. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because here's what Haley didn't know. I had a backup. Always did. I'd grown up surrounded by people like her. Women who smiled at you while twisting the knife. People who valued image over integrity. I'd been trained in survival long before I met Nathan. So when we started wedding planning, I kept copies of everything. Vendor contracts, guest lists, deposit receipts, access to the wedding website, dual login, catering menu, saved under my name, florals, chairs, DJ playlist, logged in my system. They'd moved the wedding behind my back, but they forgot I built it. Every inch of it. And if they thought I was going to walk away empty-handed, they were in for a surprise. By the time I left the venue, my heart wasn't pounding anymore. I wasn't scared. I wasn't crying. I was focused. Because if they wanted war on my wedding day, fine. But they should have known better than to mess with someone who read every contract before signing. They didn't just humiliate me. They activated me. I got back in the car and pulled out my laptop. Thankfully, I brought it for our honeymoon departure the next morning. It was still connected to the shared folders. Still logged into the master wedding account I had created months ago. It wasn't hard to get in. They hadn't changed any passwords. Haley probably didn't even know which software we were using. She was too busy choosing table runners and designing her brother's life to care about logistics. Everything was still there. The venue contract, the vendors, the guest registry, the music cue sheets, the live stream login info. They had hijacked the location, kicked me out of my own wedding, but they hadn't covered their tracks. And that's where they made their biggest mistake. Because while they had spent the morning orchestrating my public erasure, I had spent the last 6 months quietly building a machine that they now stood on top of, completely unaware that I was the one holding the wires. So I made a few edits. First, the music. We had planned for a soft acoustic song to play as the bridal party entered. Something classic, elegant, but the DJ had a digital list queued up from my folder. So I changed the file. Then I edited the slideshow they planned to project during the vows. You know the one, photos of the couple, childhood moments, sweet little captions like, "She completes me." The kind that makes people tear up during the ceremony. I deleted it and replaced it with something else. A new video, stitched together from the last 3 months of screenshots, voice memos, receipts, and text logs. Proof that Nathan had been cold, that Haley had been interfering, that I had been pushed out, step by step, while they smiled to my face and stabbed me in the back. Footage of Haley telling me, "You don't get how families like ours work." An audio recording I had from 3 weeks earlier when she drunkenly admitted at my bachelorette party, "You're temporary. We all know it. You think I wasn't prepared? You think I didn't feel it coming? I just hadn't decided what to do with it until now." Then I called the caterers. I asked to speak with the manager, told her my name, referred to the invoice, quoted the last 4 digits of the credit card used, mine, and then I asked her one simple thing. "Could you please remove all meat dishes from the buffet line? We've had a change in dietary policy. It's an all-vegan event now." She paused. The final prep has already started." "I understand," I said calmly. "I'm the client. If there are charges, I'll pay them. Please replace the prime rib with the plant-based menu I submitted last month." "Are you sure?" "Oh, very." She agreed. Next, the florist. Another easy fix. I'd booked a very specific floral setup, cream and blush roses, cascading lilies, eucalyptus framing. It was romantic, expensive, delicate. I changed the order. Bright yellow sunflowers, orange marigolds, fake ivy, plastic butterflies, budget wedding in a strip mall aesthetic. She sounded confused, but confirmed it. I sent a revised seating chart next. One that eliminated Haley's college friends, moved her ex to the front, and placed her at the kids' table. Was it petty? Absolutely. But I wasn't done. I called the photographer. He was a friend of mine from college. A talented, kind man who had agreed to do the shoot at a discounted rate because I'd helped design his website for free. He answered on the first ring. "Hey," I said. "Quick change of plans. You're not shooting the Waverly Lake wedding anymore." "Oh, you're meeting me at the original venue." "Yes, it's still available. And yes, I'll explain when you get there." He didn't ask questions. He just said, "Got it. See you there." And then, I made one more call. To a woman named Claire. Nathan's ex. Let me explain. They dated for 3 years in college. She was the golden girl his parents had always wanted. Blonde, soft-spoken, had family money. But Nathan said she was suffocating, that he broke things off because he couldn't breathe around her. But when he started dating me, she didn't go away. She stayed friends with Haley, showed up to family events, sent holiday cards. Once, she cornered me at a New Year's party and said, "You're not what they pictured, you know." I never forgot that. So when I messaged her that morning and said, "You might want to be at Waverly Lake at 10 a.m. You'll want to see this," she replied in 30 seconds. "I'll be there." Of course she would. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a reckoning. By 10:15, the new venue, the one they tried to erase, was buzzing. The original staff were still on standby, confused but polite. The chairs were still set. The altar still framed. The string quartet showed up like clockwork. And guests? They were confused. Some had arrived there as planned, not knowing the venue was switched. Others got texts from me directing them back. Some stayed behind at the lake, but many, especially my people, rallied. Because while they had numbers, I had loyalty. And when the video started streaming at 10:45 on the wedding site, everyone saw it. The original venue. The real guest list. Me. Not a victim. A bride. Not sobbing in a hotel. But standing tall in front of every guest who had ever underestimated me. I took the mic. And I spoke. "To everyone who showed up here today, thank you. I know this hasn't gone the way any of us expected. Least of all me. But before we move forward, there's something you should know." I nodded to the tech team. And the video began. Haley's voice. Drunk. Mocking me. Nathan's messages. Cold. Short. Shrinking. Audio of him telling his best man, "It's not like she's the one. She's just," Good enough for now. The room went quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And then I looked into the camera, into the live stream, into the homes and phones and inboxes of every person who had ever wondered why it stayed so quiet. Today was supposed to be my wedding, but instead, it's the beginning of something better. For years, I've been polite, forgiving, accommodating. I let people speak for me, walk over me, exclude me. And I stayed, smiled, waited for the day they'd finally see my worth. I paused. Today, I stopped waiting. I finished my speech. No screaming, no crying, no rage. Just facts. Truth, spoken clearly. It wasn't a spectacle. It was a verdict. The video ended. The last image on screen was a simple text overlay. Ask him why. And then silence. In the crowd, no one moved. A few people looked down at their phones, probably messaging Nathan. Others looked at each other like they were waiting for someone else to say something first. The live stream was still rolling. And I just stood there, calm, hands folded in front of me like a woman giving a press conference after surviving a plane crash. Because that's what it felt like. The wreckage was behind me. And I had walked away. Back at the Waverly Lake venue, the one they'd stolen, things didn't go as smoothly. I didn't see it myself, but I heard about it. From texts, DMs, a video that someone sent me before I even got home. Nathan standing in front of the crowd, Haley whispering furiously into his ear, guests staring down at their phones, watching my ceremony from across town. Someone played the video on a speaker. They couldn't stop it, couldn't spin it, couldn't unhear it. According to Maddie, my former maid of honor who immediately came to my side, Haley tried to regain control. She marched to the mic and started shouting about fake audio and AI manipulation. But then someone asked her, if it's fake, why is your voice in it? That's when the real chaos started. Nathan's best friend, Tyler, walked out. His groomsmen followed. Guests started leaving in small groups. Quiet at first, then faster. The caterers pulled the buffet. The DJ shut down his set. The florist staff packed up their arrangements before the last vows could even be uttered. And Nathan? He just stood there, still in his tux. No bride, no applause, no ceremony, just an empty gazebo and a sister who had overplayed her hand. But the fallout didn't stop at the lake. The next day, I posted the full video online. Just the facts. No commentary, no accusations, just proof. Screenshots, voice clips, timeline breakdown, final receipts. And then I closed the comments. Because it wasn't about attention. It was about documentation. I had been erased. Now I existed again. The ripple effect was brutal. Haley lost her job within 48 hours. Turns out, the big corporate PR firm she worked for didn't appreciate being dragged into a viral scandal involving wedding sabotage, emotional abuse, and classist humiliation. Someone emailed her boss. Probably more than one person. They didn't need to see much, just that clip of her saying, "She's not good enough for us." That was enough. Gone. Nathan went radio silent for 3 days. Then he texted, "I need to talk to you. Please." I didn't respond. He sent another. I didn't know they were going to do that. I was trying to fix it. I didn't agree with them. I was just stuck. That last sentence said it all. I was just stuck. Not I tried to protect you. Not I love you. Just I was too weak to fight for you. He tried calling. Left a voicemail. I know I screwed up. I wanted everything to feel right. And when they started changing things, I thought it would calm down. But it didn't. It spiraled. And I should have stopped it. I should have stopped them. No apology. No acknowledgement of what it felt like to be cast out of your own wedding. Just regret that things spiraled. He thought I was going to pick up. Thought I'd come running because he sounded sad. But sadness doesn't fix betrayal. And I wasn't his rescue. Claire, his ex, messaged me next. I don't know what to say, but I'm sorry. I was surprised. But I answered. For what? Her reply was longer. I knew they never accepted you. I let it happen. Because for a long time, I wanted him back. I let Haley pull me into her games. But watching what they did to you, it made me sick. You didn't deserve that. No one does. I didn't forgive her. But I respected the honesty. She didn't know me that message. She sent it anyway. It's more than Nathan ever gave me. The days that followed were quiet. Too quiet. I moved out of our shared apartment. Fast. I didn't tell him where I was going. Didn't leave a note. Didn't leave a forwarding address. I canceled the honeymoon flights. Transferred the refund into a new account. The one I'd opened under just my name. I sold the wedding dress. Donated the decorations. Gave my bridal shoes to my cousin, who was getting married the following year. I kept one thing. The engagement ring. Not for memories. Not for mourning. But because I paid for half of it. And I'd be damned if I walked away empty-handed again. Some nights, I still wake up around 6:03 a.m. The time of Haley's call. I replay it in my mind like an old film reel. Her voice, smug, confident. The way she thought she had already won. And I smile. Because she didn't just lose the game. She taught me how to play it better. People have asked me if I'd ever consider getting married again. If this experience made me cynical. If I'd ever trust someone enough to stand in front of a crowd and say I do. And the answer is, yes. But not for the same reasons. Not for validation. Not for comfort. Not to prove I'm lovable. Next time, it'll be because someone stands beside me and says, I see you. I hear you. And no one will push you out of your own life again. Until then, I'm good. I'm whole. And I've already survived the worst day they thought they could give me and turned it into the best thing I've ever done. The strangest part about watching someone ruin their own life? It's how quiet it is. You expect drama, flames, screaming. But sometimes, it's just watching a door slowly shut behind them and knowing they're the one who closed it. That's how it felt with Nathan. No dramatic chase. No tearful reunion. No late-night confessions that made me reconsider. Just silence. And me, sitting in a new apartment, learning what it means to breathe without checking who's in the room. A few weeks after the wedding that never was, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. Nathan. It wasn't long. Just a folded card with 2 sentences. I rehearsed my vows the night before. I still have them. Would you want to read them someday? I stared at it for a long time, and then I slid it into a drawer. Because what he didn't understand was this. I wasn't waiting for the perfect vows. I was waiting for the bare minimum. Someone who would not let his sister erase me out of our own wedding. Someone who wouldn't stay silent while I was cut from the guest list of my own life. Someone who would say, "That's not okay," before it became too late to fix. I wasn't asking for poetry. I was asking for presence. And he couldn't give that. So no, I didn't want to read his vows. Because they weren't written for the woman he left behind. They were written for the fantasy he let his family build while they buried me alive. Haley never apologized. Not once. But I didn't expect her to. People like Haley don't say sorry. They shift blame. They rewrite history. They say things like, "It got out of hand," or "We all made mistakes," as if anyone else had grabbed the phone at 6 a.m. and said, "You're not good enough." But life has a funny way of teaching people who won't listen. 2 months after the wedding, I heard through Maddie that Haley was spiraling. After losing her job, she had tried to start a wedding planning business. The kind she used to mock. "DIY brides are so embarrassing," she once said. Now she was one of them. Except her brand never launched. Why? Because Google exists. And when you search her name, the first thing that comes up is the wedding that didn't happen. People talk. Clients cancel. Investors pull out. Turns out, no one wants a planner who made a bride disappear on her own wedding day. Poetic, really. Maddie stayed in touch. She apologized early. Not because she was caught, but because she realized what she'd done. She told me she rewatched the video more than once. That she kept trying to find a moment where maybe I'd exaggerated. Twisted it. Taken something out of context. But it wasn't there. Just 6 years of tolerance. 6 years of smiles. 6 years of being overlooked until I wasn't anymore. She said she used to think I was too sensitive. That I needed to just chill and not make it weird. Now she sees it. The subtle digs. The micro cuts. The careful, curated cruelty. She said it made her sick to realize she'd laughed along with it. I didn't forgive her immediately, but I thanked her for showing up. Because not everyone did. Tyler, the best man, sent a message, too. He said watching the fallout made him question everything. He said he couldn't believe how fast everyone turned. How Nathan's family didn't just humiliate me, they abandoned him too. Because after the collapse, they didn't stay to help him rebuild. They distanced themselves. Because shame isn't loyal. And cowards don't like witnesses. He told me Nathan had stopped going out. That he was working remotely. That he deleted his social media after the video broke 500,000 views. That's what happens when people finally see the real story. They stop listening to the version you told them. I never posted a follow-up. No updates. No Q&A. No revenge tour. I didn't need to. Because the ending wasn't a climax. It was a quiet choice. I walked away from the explosion. And I didn't look back. A few months later, I was invited to another wedding. A friend of a friend. Small. Garden-themed. A backyard affair with twinkling lights and string music. At first, I didn't want to go. The thought of standing near vows again made my skin itch. But I went. And when the couple stood beneath the arch, holding hands, nervous and trembling and real, I realized something. I hadn't given up on love. I had just stopped mistaking proximity for partnership. Stopped confusing quietness for stability. Stopped hoping people would choose me. And started choosing myself first. That night, I danced barefoot under the stars. Not for anyone. Just for me. So if you're wondering what happened to the girl who got that 6 a.m. call, who lost her makeup artist, her venue, and her fiancé before breakfast, who was told she wasn't good enough for the family that never wanted her there in the first place, here's what happened. She didn't vanish. She didn't break. She didn't beg. She stood up. She built her own ceremony. She invited the people who mattered. She delivered the truth. And when the dust settled, when the dresses were folded, and the flowers were thrown out, she was still standing.